Hi everyone, Tiffany here, and welcome to my quilting life. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell will pop up and you can get notifications when I'm on, which is usually on Sundays, but today is Monday and I have decided to show you how to make a flange binding. I actually do not have a quilt right here to show you what a flange binding is, but it's a binding where from the back to the front is the one color, and then in the front there's a strip of color that runs with a little lip that can be flicked at, all the way around. So it's two different colors. So a flange binding is pretty much two different colors. So hi Teresa. And here we go again with, I don't realize it before I get on video that I should be putting my glasses on so that I could actually read that far.
You want me to come and read?
Hi, Sandy. Hi, Vicky.
So
yeah, we're going to make, hi, Diane. Well, a couple people join on here, and then I'm going to tip the camera down so you can watch how it is cut and so on and so forth. But first of all, before I get started, even though she's not here right now in the chat room,
Vicky.
Obviously, today, as you can see, I got me a Quilting is my therapy shirt, and that is thanks to Anna. Anna loves to send me gifts, and she sent me a Get Well package with a beautiful little card that has a hummingbird on it, and it says to get well soon and so on and so forth. Obviously, I'm not going to read it out loud. And then she also sent me these awesome gloves with little skulls on it. They are not full finger gloves. They are actually...
Put them on and let them see.
I am putting one on because I have... Hi, Billy. I have a broken fingernail, and I'm trying to keep from ripping it anymore. But they go on my hands like
Betty
this.
Mercer.
Totally like awesome, aren't they? Little skulls. They're like, oh yeah. Definitely a really good get well present because I have a rash on both my hands due to MS, and so I could put my medicine on my hands and just put these gloves on and keep myself from scratching myself to death, because that's what I end up doing. So Anna, when you do watch this video, I awesomely thank you so very much for the gifts, and definitely makes me feel better for the day, even though my burrito earlier, because I finally ate something good, actually made me feel better. I decided to eat a nice breakfast burrito today, and stuffing as it is, it was actually good to eat something full.
It says good evening all, and it was Betty,
hi,
not
Faith.
Billy.
Oh, so you were trying to watch. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to tip the camera down so you can see the cutting area, and I am going to show you guys. This is the quilt that I need to flange bind. Totally put this over there somewhere. Out of the way. Never mind. This big, huge one that you guys saw me quilt. So I need to put a flange binding on it. I want the back to be the yellow, which the backing is. And then the flange I wanted red. So I had to go to the fabric store today and buy.
Anna came on. She says, hi, glad you like it.
Yes, I love it, Anna. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the back of the flange that you would see come around from the back is going to be the same as the backing. So I kept all the leftover fabric from the back, which is a yellow. It's kind of got white and stuff mixed into it. And then I went ahead and got some more red so that I can make the flange part, which is the part that you'll see. Instead of seeing yellow around the front, it'll be a red lip that goes all the way around it. So this is a twin full size quilt. And so I need to make quite a few cuts. And I will tell you guys all the proper measurements that typical flange bindings are. If you want a wider flange, it can be changed to any style, any size. So yeah, we're going to get to it. So let me tip the camera down to see
Why don't you let me move it down? And
because it's carefully right.
Okay.
So.
Well, they don't get to see you much.
Oh, they don't need to see me for this part.
Okay.
I'm going to be cutting through a lot of layers here because I have this lined up as best as I could. And as you can tell, the fabric still has some of from the front on it. It's because when I trimmed it down, I didn't take that off just yet. Instead, I just made a nice big stack of all the fabric. And if I can find the end of it. because I had quite a few little pieces left over. We're going to cut the first piece. So there's more than one. And then I'll cut the second piece and so on. So I'm going to start with the first one.
Linda Turner says hi, all.
Hi, Linda. Scott's in here with me. So if you guys are hearing him. So I'm going to nicely flatten this back out.
Anna loves the red.
Yes, I do too. That's why I decided to make a flange binding. I didn't want just the yellow coming through the front. I actually wanted it to be both. I figured it would look more, I don't know. I just figured it would look better.
Hi, Linda.
I think there's a big chunk of, it was a big chunk of batting. That's what I was feeling. I was trying to flatten it out and it's the batting. Go figure.
Oh, pretty.
It's okay. I'm going to get it nice and flat. Flatten this one on here. Let's see if my ruler can even go the distance. Oh my goodness, it can. I'm going to line this up on a line. So I cut this side off. And okay, so here's how the flange works. This is the side that's going to come from the back. This is the yellow color. So hold on, let's see. So sad. Justin's grandma just passed away today. You mean Sandy?
Who's that?
It's her. I think it's grandson or something. I don't know everybody's names because I don't remember names very well. You have a nice contrast. Yes, very nice contrast. Okay, so when I say the main color, that would be.
Know if anyone fooled us today for April Fools.
No.
No, we don't really do much of that.
No, we're not. I used to be an April Fool pranker when I was younger, but not anymore.
No, we hung out together. It was our day off. We went to Walmart and bought some fabric and.
Yeah, but I managed to only buy red. That is it. I only bought 2 yards of fabric. Scott was very pleased with my not very big purchase today. I have too many things I'm working on, so I kind of just trying to stick to finishing this one. And that's it for now. So, okay, what was I saying? Okay, so when I say the main color, that would be this yellow. This is the color that I want to come from the back. This is the color I want to see visible from the back is the yellow, and it comes around to the front. When I say flange, that would be the red, which would be the small pop of color that you see on the front that separates the yellow from the black, which is my border color of my quilt, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to do the main fabric cut, which is pretty much the backing of the flange, the back of it. The main color is going to get cut 1 1/4. So that's 1 1/4. So let me trim this up real quick. Make a nice straight line right here.
Yes, Sandy, we're sorry for your loss, and we all hope she had a good life too.
Yeah, it's sad when people die, especially when a young person is so close to them. I remember when my grandma died, and she had Alzheimer's. I go still see her grave because it's here in Havasu because she loved it here. When she died, I was so close to her and nobody in the family was. And it was just a hell of a thing because I was the one that took care of her with her Alzheimer's dementia. And it was horrible. She was so bad to me, but I was always there for that woman. But the family didn't care about that. Okay, I don't need this part. So
we're going to go check
again,
laundry. Let me know if you need me.
Okay, I'm going to flip this over so I can make right-hand cuts. Again, I'm working with the main color. This is what I'm calling the main color. This main color is getting cut 1 1/4, which is 1 1/4. I just say 1/4 or so. I don't usually. When I type it out, though, I put 1.25. So my first cut is 1 1/4, and I need this quilt is 78 by 90. So it's the same exact measurements to figure out the top of the quilt, the sides of the quilt, and the bottom of the quilt for how much binding you need, except you're cutting twice. You're cutting thinner cuts, but 2 thinner cuts instead of 1. How funny, you only bought red too. I only needed red. That was it for this project. So yeah. Where was I? So we're going to cut this back one. And at first, when I first learned how to do this, I was like, this number is wrong. There is no way that this is going to fold around to the back and create something, but it does. It's kind of weird how it works, but it does. So I'm going to line this up on 1 1/4. Nicely. Oh, come on, stay. Put my weight back on here. I'm going to slice it off, and I think I'm going to cut, let's see. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strips for this project. So, and this is the sides, so I need 5 strips instead. So, because this was the length of the quilt itself. So I'm just going to cut some 1 1/4 inch strips. I'm using my weight because I'm cutting a really long. The fabric is like 108 inches long, so, or like 106. It's something like that. It's really big. There's number 2. So I figured I would do this live for you guys. Come on, say hi, share that I got some happy mail today. Get well wishes. I'm still trying to get well. I was able to eat a burrito today, though. I was really happy about that. I sure love eating burritos, especially breakfast burritos with bacon and chorizo. I didn't eat much chorizo, though, but I still had bacon and chorizo. And I can't see the comments at the moment because my head is facing down to make sure that I get enough cuts or I'm going to forget where I am. So the back side of the flange is 1 1/4, 1 1/4. Just so you know, it's the side that will be shown on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I might be able to get one more. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do number 5. See if this is plenty. Should be. And we're going to connect these the exact same that we connect any binding. They are all going to be connected with a 45-degree angle line. And for shits and giggles, let's see how much I actually have left. Totally not 1 1/4. So we'll throw this out of the way for my scrap fabric pile. And we're going to bring over the red, which will be the flange. And I have not pressed it. It's fresh off the bolt. So see how the lady even folded it. Please give Tiffany a thumbs up. Hit that like. Yes, hit that like. And if you notice, anybody that wasn't on yesterday, I had a troller. And so now I have Diane and Seneda are my, what is it called? They have a little tool next to them. That's so that they can keep the trollers out while I'm working.
They're like the monitors.
Moderators, that's what they're called. Something like that. All right, so I'm going to make a nice straight line here. Have it lined up on the lines on my cutting mat. I'm going to make a left-hand cut real quick to make a nice straight line. All right, so what I'm going to do is, now this is the flange, obviously. The flange is 1 1/2 inches. So 1/4 inch more than the back is the flange. So we want 1 1/2 inches for the color that you want to be that little pop color that's going to fold all the way around the whole front side of the quilt. So I want to cut it 1 1/2 or 1.50. My 1 1/2 inch line on this ruler is not there anymore. It kind of has decided it wants to go away very far. It's all scraped away. So I think about these rulers, you got to constantly buy new ones because your markings, if you cut as often as I do, the markings disappear. And I almost was going to cut that at 1 1/4. Whoa, good thing I checked twice before cutting. Check twice, cut once. Okay, so I'm going to cut this 1 1/2 inches. 1 1/2 inches for the flange. And I need 9 strips. So there's 1, 2. I have this folded in half. The fabric is on itself. Again, that's 1 1/2 for the flange part. If you want it wider, just up your numbers, both of them by 1/4 inch. For anybody that wants to make their own flange of any size, if you want a little thicker of a piece that goes all the way around for really wide borders and you want something to offset it, then just add 1/4 to both these measurements. Or even more if you want. I've seen and heard of people making 3-inch wide binding, which is kind of weird. I cut mine at 2 1/4 when I make regular binding, so. Okay, so the flange is 1 1/2. The main color is 1 1/4. So that you guys remember, 1 1/4. Flange is $1.50. The main color is $1.25. Oh, that's funny. It's funny to say it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be 7, 8, and then I'll fold it out and cut 1 more. Well, that's 8. And we'll fold this out of the way and cut 1 more strip. And like I said, I didn't press it or anything. It's just freshly from the store. So if there's any crinkles or anything, oh well, it'll iron out when I go to. Stay, ruler, stay. I hate when it does that. If I don't use that darn weight, I move these things so easily. These rulers just slide around. All right, so there's my 9 cuts of 1 1/2 inches. And now I can come sit and read the screen, guys. All right, does the flange take the place of the binding? The flange is the binding. The binding is made with a little lip. So you guys will see, because this is a start to finish flange binding on a twin full size quilt. So I'll even show you how to press it and everything. We'll change the camera's position a few times so that you can watch the whole process. So I'm going to move that out of my way because I'm done with that. I'm going to tip the camera up. I don't have a quilt right now that has a flange on it here in my possession because the last flange I did was on another quilt a while ago. Oops, stay. Right there. Right there. My screen looks funny. I hope it's clear for you guys. Is it clear for you guys? Hoping it is. I probably have a quilt with flange binding out in my garage box of quilts because I got like, I don't know, 30 quilts out in the garage in a box. And I got like 10 or 15 in here in the closet, but none of those ones have flange binding on them. So, all right, I'm going to start by the same process as any process for making binding, and that's to take one end, and then we're going to take another strip, and I'm going to lay it on top of here on the cross, just like so, and I'm going to sew a diagonal line, and I'm using red thread, which I didn't even thread the machine, only because when I go to sew the binding on anyway, it's going to have red thread in the flange, and the quilting is red on the front and back, so totally forgot to thread my machine. I was trying to do 10 things at once and I was like, wait a second, I got to do this live because I promised I would show flange binding someday. I'm going to grab my mouse back though real quick before I start sewing so that I can scroll up and see what I've missed. And Anna, this shirt is like super soft. It's kind of weird. There's so many t-shirts out there in this world that are like rough filling, but this one feels so smooth. I like it. Me likey. All right, what was I grabbing? I was grabbing something. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, my mouse. That's what I was doing. See, you guys, my brain just isn't working properly today. I'm going to bring it up here so I could see. All right. Did I miss anything? Both had it. Just don't know what they were doing. Okay. I didn't miss much. It's now blurring with lots of movement. Okay, that's just because I'm moving around. So, all right. So again, we're going to cross them over. So they're right sides together, as always, like anytime you do binding. And we're going to sew from the one corner to the other. And I'm not using this finger because the nail broke. If you notice, they're not painted. It's because I had to take all the polish off and I went down to try to go get an overlay done. And then one nail has to be fake. And my nail broke because I need an overlay. And I tried not to rip it off. I was just going to hope that the people can glue it. But they don't have any of those people there today. So I have to go to a different nail shop tomorrow. So anyway, but we're going to do this same as any binding. And if you need to mark it, you know, across the cross section. But I'm not going to mark it. I'm just going to sew it. And then I'm going to find my end, leaving it on the machine, flipping it. I'm going to use my hand to guide it to stay right side up. I'm going to grab that next piece, find my end, put it right sides together on here. And I kind of crossed mine over. If you haven't noticed, they're sticking out against my shirt. You can see they create a crease. I just flop it over. I'm not losing much. It would be where there would normally be a selvage, but there's no selvage on this fabric right here because it's already been used. So I'm just going to line it over, create that line from crevice to crevice, following this back down through my hand, keeping it the right direction, leaving it right sides up. Grab my next piece. And I'm just going to continue to do it this way. Hooking all these together first before I do anything else. Plus I'm knocking any extra batting that's still stuck to the fabric off. And this just keeps from having too much bulk. Although I have done a flange binding where the seam was just sewn up and down like any other seam up and down. So I have done it that way. And to me, honestly, they never line up in the fabric. So it does not create bulk. If anything, it's less bulk having a seam just scattered. So I'm going to leave these ones on here now. And I'm going to pull the red over. And like I always do, I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to lay it here, right sides up. I'm not even cutting the selvage off. I'm just leaving it right on there. I'm going to take the next piece, right sides together. Obviously, if it's a solid, there is no right or wrong side. But in this case, I'm picking it up at the fold, so I'm considering the top of the fold as my right side. Grab the end, pulling it to the top. I used to get these all flipped around a long time ago, but I've learned to just lay it in front of me. And I've never had a problem by flipping it as I pull along the fabric. I just keep it this way, flipping this side over. So where if you see that fold like this from the fabric, that fold that's naturally in it, that's how you know that this side needs to be facing up. If that fold is popping up, then this is the right side up. Then just pull another piece and go. I'm just making a big, long unit. Becomes extra part of the binding for decoration, if anything else. Yes, and for some strange reason, I find the flange great for people who like to machine sew binding on and using matching thread to the flange. It helps you line up the line easier when it comes to how your mitered corners end up and how it looks on the back side, because sometimes if you machine sew on the back side of your quilt, if you sew from the back to the front, you will have a line that goes all the way around, a thread sewing line. Well, if you have a flange, that line is over more because you're actually sewing in the dip of the flange, so it actually hides it more right next to the yellow color that I'm using. So it would be right next to the start of the binding. It's kind of weird how it works out. But it really looks nice, and you'll see. You guys know I'm pretty quick with binding, so hopefully I can do it pretty quickly while chit-chatting. So during a live feed, we will try to get it done. I do have to press it and everything as well, though, so need to try this on your next quilt. Yes, Kim, try it on your next quilt. I'm telling you, it, especially on baby quilts. I've done it on baby quilts, and I don't know what it is, but it just gives that extra pop of color, and it just creates an illusion of extra harder work. And technically it is, because you have to do this whole binding making thing twice. You have to hook these all together and then sew the whole entire thing together after you cut everything away. So there's a little bit extra work involved, but the after look is so super cute. And one more. And then we're going to snip them all apart, and then I will turn around and cut all these extra pieces off from hooking them this way. So we're going to bring it over here, and I'm going to snip all this apart. And after it's snipped apart, I'm going to go ahead and trim off 1/4 inch away from all of the created lines that I have now made on all of these pieces. All right. So I'm hoping that this is plenty. I just need a small little ruler for this part. Obviously, you guys can't see here, but what I'm just doing, I'm finding my first seam right here. So you guys see that disaster right there? I'm first going to fold it back and say, oh, that's perfectly straight. Now I'm just going to go, okay, I'm pretty sure they all are because I was paying attention the whole time. And I'm just going to trim away the excess, which I'll show you right now. So at first, when you cut it, it'll have 2 pieces that stick out like so. You don't want those, so just make sure you cut those dog ears off. It's not that hard, just a little roll. You can do it with scissors if you want to. You can actually cut the whole thing with scissors if you want to. And my screen is telling me to do something. Remind me tomorrow. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to trim. If you can see right here, I'm just trimming 1/4 inch away. Taking that off. Are you kidding me? Be nice to have the blade out, Tiffany. I feel like a dummy when I do stuff like that. All right, I'm going to find the next one. I'm just going to keep going until I got both colors done. And then we'll turn on the iron real quick and press all the seams back, because I need to do that real quick. And I can just cut normally, but I'm going to use the ruler to make sure that I get it nice every time. Because I want it to lay as flat as possible. So, again, at this moment, I cannot see comments. I'm just kind of trimming away. Can you guys even see what I'm doing down here without having to move the camera? Hoping you guys can. And one more on this red. So my whole red should now be nice and straight all the way. Now I just need to trim the yellow. So I'm going to throw the red over here on the ironing board, which I put directly behind me. But you guys can't obviously see that either. It's just directly behind me. And I'm going to find all of these. They're really long because, like I said, this was the backing fabric from the same quilt. And I could have took the backing and rolled it to the front, but I wanted a flange binding, so obviously I'm making a flange binding. And I do not keep these little pieces. Unfortunately, I don't need these tinier ones. I use the ones off of 2.5 inch strips, but I don't use the ones off of these little itty bitty dink ball strips. You guys know me, I save most of my scraps. All right. Should have only one more left. Yep. You're right, Tiff. If you pay attention to the little details, it makes a more beautiful quilt. Yes, it does. I don't know what it is about the flange binding, and you guys will see when I'm finished, especially with this one, because this one has a black border on the quilt. I didn't want it to be yellow just by itself because, I don't know, there's yellow in the quilt top, a lot of it, but I don't know, for some reason, I was like, you know what, I needed to finish off the red. There's a lot of red in this quilt, but for some strange reason, the idea of the flange binding came to me, and I was like, I haven't done it in a while, I might as well do it. And then I said, well, I'm going to teach it. That sound is my little buddy Cyrus being silly. All right, so now what we're going to do is face the camera down so you can just watch real quick, because I really don't need to do much but press these seams, but I don't want to break my fingernail more. So my ironing board is just right here, as you can tell. I'll do my best to try to get the whole thing in here. I put the big ironing, we put the big one up. So what I'm going to do is flip it upside down so that my seam is on the back side instead of from the top like this. I'm just going to do it from the back, because all I'm going to do is go and push all these down. Obviously, when the iron is heated up enough. And I'm just going to find all of these seams real quick. And from the back side, I'm just going to push them down to one side. These are not going to line up at all to the other piece, because those are more longer strips. So there should be no come togethers. So how was everybody's day today while I'm doing this? Everybody go to work, come home, get lazy in your pajamas, and now sitting around watching TV and me? Oh, no, it was just CJ being silly. And he's being silly some more. All right, that one's done. I'm going to bring the yellow up here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing from the back side. I'll try to find these because they're far and few. I'm just going to pop them down. And yes, like I said, I used red thread on the yellow, but I don't care because on the front, it's not seeable. So it's perfectly fine. And obviously you can't tell anyway because you're on camera and I'm in person. And that's it on that one. So let me turn the camera back to this and we'll sew it up. And whoa, don't fall. The camera sits on top of the TV, so it's, there we go, stay. All right. Okay. Had to unplug the iron. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to find an end of each fabric. Obviously, they're really thin, so what's going to happen is you're going to have like a big mess on your lap. And I would recommend keeping it on your lap. It's the best way. Oh, and my April Fool's joke, I actually did pull one, is I got rid of my mountain man for a desert man. See that? I got rid of my mountain man. And I have a desert man.
Oh.
He has no beard.
Your camera's all the way down there.
So CJ actually walked in the house today because he didn't see Scott all shaved up nicely. And he goes, "What? Wait, what? Holy moly." He didn't know it was Scott. He was like, seriously?
I'll grow the beard out for the winter. I have the goatee the rest of the year.
Last night, I took my husband's mountain guy man look away and gave him a more normal look. All right, so I'm going to find my first seam. Looking good, Scott. So,
Anna, you spoil us with all your gifts.
All right. I want my seam found, my first one. Obviously, there's a long... And then this one I don't care about. I just want this yellow right side up. Yeah, right side up. And then I'm going to take my red. Actually, I want my red right side up. So we're going to leave that right side up and we'll put the yellow on top of it. Screw it. Put the yellow on top of it. Like so. And I'm just going to put them right sides together and sew down the whole entire thing with a 1/4 inch seam. Diane said, very sexy, Scott.
Oh.
He doesn't think he's cute, guys. You ladies need to tell him something different because he's weird.
Anna says you spoil us with sharing your life, talent, and zest for life.
Well, I never heard it that way. My zest for life.
I like that. It's a good term.
I am quite zesty. You know, I think it's just because I'm super happy, bubbly all the time. All right, so what I'm going to do is got them right sides together, and I'm just going to sew this big, huge, long strip. And it's just going to go and go and go and go for a while, okay? So let's get this sewn. When it's sewn, we'll take it to the ironing board. So I'm just going to hold it and adjust as I need to, kick back and sew. And I made sure I had full bobbin just in case.
Faith says yes to be on again.
All right. This is a long seam. I consider flange binding the longest seams you make. Unless you're like piecing binding. Now those are some long seams too. It's all the same. I'm just going to adjust and sew, adjust and sew. Okay. Trying to make sure my seam is not flipping underneath. I don't want any flip seams. So I'll try to keep those nice at least. Am I missing anything?
Not really. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Diane said she called in last Thursday and she still doesn't have. And Anna says you can't imagine the frustration.
Oh, they're talking about something else.
Teresa says, wow, that's terrible. I would call every day. Yeah, I'm not sure what though, because I know. I think it's about getting her medication for sleep. She doesn't
okay.
So they're saying you're not being able to sleep.
That's my daily life, never being able to sleep. I try not to let it bother me. I just keep busy when I can't.
Yeah, Tiff has insomnia. She doesn't sleep too much either. By the time I'm waking up in the morning, because I get up very early, is normally the time she's going to bed, if she goes to bed at all.
I slept this morning, though, for about 2.5 hours until I woke to pee, like always. Pretty sure some of you know what it's like to have to wake up in the middle of the night and pee 100 times. It really screws sleep up, let me tell you. This is like, because I have to keep paying attention. It doesn't just line itself up. Kind of sucks.
Well, honey, if it did everything for you, then there'd be no personality part.
Yeah. As long as you try to keep your 1/4 inch seam consistent the whole way down, and make sure that you untwist it as you go. You don't want it to twist right when you get to the end. So where you're starting to sew next, because if it twists up, then you have to unpick the whole thing.
Doctor this weekend, so she had to call in today to see if he can have it done for tomorrow. Yeah, that happened to Tiff right before her surgery. We realized she was out of medicine on the weekend. We had to hurry up and call. Her surgery was on a Wednesday, and we had to do it on a Monday.
Yeah, I can't run out of my face medicine. That's one I can't run out of, because then I want to rip my face off 24/7. And you guys don't, I know you've seen it before where I sit and scratch my face. I try not to, but.
Okay, we have a real question here. Teresa wants to know, do you sew back to front or front to back?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
What
Teresa, what do you mean?
Back to front or front to back? I don't get it. I'm sewing right sides together, if that's what you want to know. Oh, are you talking about adding it to the quilt? I sew from the back. I sew it onto the back of the quilt and then fold it over to the front. I think any flange binding should be from back to front.
Hey, what's up, Mom?
And I do it with any quilt anyway. I actually like the look of it. Yeah, I don't know why. I like the look of front to back, or back to front. When you hook it to the front, I think, and then sew it to the back, I think that's when you just want a more clean edge, probably, for those that want clean edges. But I just like it on the back first and then around to the front. It kind of makes it a little bit wider, so it adds more interest to the, 90% of the time I use the same color that's on the back for binding, and or I use my main focus color that's in quilts as my binding. And we just had a weird problem. It scooted up onto the table and I just sewed it into itself. Ready for that one, guys? This is why I say pay attention to it. See that? It literally sewed to itself. I gotta look real quick and make sure it didn't affect my thing. It was in the seam. I just got lucky with that. It was in the seam. So I'll backstitch right there and try to keep my pile further away so it doesn't come back up onto the machine. Yes, I know that one, Diane. But mine happens whether I'm trying to sleep or not.
That's okay. We'll get it from the library or something.
Still going, guys. Yes, I'm not perfect, Faith, by no means. I have made plenty of mistakes. I've even sewn through my finger while recording live for you guys out there. You can ask the ladies, because probably most of them were the ones on here when I did that. I've done that several times, though, the sewing through my finger thing. I've also chopped my fingers off and so on and so forth. But I've made plenty of mistakes and had to pick them out. Just because I teach it doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. My machine keeps going off the table. Guess if I slow my speed down, you know me though, I can't slow down. It's so hard. So hard to go slow. It was like horrible the day when the teens were here, when Maxine, Reno, and Bobby were here sewing, because they had the machines on slow, and I was like, is this ever going to end? Can't wait till they get comfortable enough to sew fast. I think I just like to get things done, that's why. I had an issue with my customer's quilt today, so that's another reason why I decided I needed to work on a different project so I can take myself away from some super big frustration issues that quilt just so happened to give me today. We need to do something about this machine.
What's going on now?
Every time I go fast, it just wants to fly off the table. That's why I wanted to cut the table and put it into the table.
Diane says I've sewn my fingers twice.
Yeah, I've done it, I don't know, probably like 8 times now. Mainly on this machine since I've had this machine. I did it on the long arm since I've had it now. And I've done it on the brother once. And it wasn't this brother, actually, it was the other brother. I haven't done it on this brother, though. reason why I keep doing it on this machine is because I sew too fast and I just don't watch my fingers. I need one of those finger guides, like on Jordan Fabrics, her professional big machine. You guys notice has like a lip on it, so it stops your fingers from going anywhere near the needle.
Oh, it's called learning.
Well, yeah, true.
Learning the hard way.
It's smarts. It smarts big time.
What machine do you have now, honey?
It's the Juki TL 2010Q. I love this machine. I am glad that I took it off of a frame and decided to use it this way permanently because it does not belong on a frame. This is the best piecing machine. Obviously, you really can't do applique on it or anything because it only has a straight stitch, but I mean, you can applique if you like straight stitched applique, but it just does a straight stitch, but free motion quilting on it when you're sitting, this machine is absolutely perfect for it. But you guys know that I am a long armer now. I prefer to long arm. I let all my creativity free on that.
Betty says, have you tried a rubber shelf under
I have
machine?
one of those. The rubber shelf lining is under here already. It is still slides around with it. Don't know why. Just does. So we were going to cut into the table like my old table, and I have some wood and some 2x4s to hook to the table, cut through the table, hook it as low as it needs to be with the 2x4s, hooking the wood to it and making it exactly the size of this. But then I'd have to file the table down too and do a couple little things to make sure that none of my fabric sticks to any wood and stuff, because that would suck. I would almost need somebody that works with wood and is professional at it to be able to just cut the table out nicely for me and sand it down around the edges to where it's really flush with my machine perfectly.
Hey, we cut a hole in the desk before. It wasn't perfect, but got the job done.
Yeah.
And we made this beautiful ironing board that's standing right next to you.
They've seen it. Yep, the only thing I've done is make my ironing board. And let me tell you, for long armor purposes, those of you who are long armors and have to pre-iron for somebody, like their quilt, like if it's been folded up, and I know because my quilts are folded up and put away. Well, not anymore. They're now hung up, but before they were folded up, and I would take them outside and I would be struggling to do a king size quilt on a regular ironing board. And now with my big ironing board, it's like I just do half the quilt all the way, and then I take the other half all the way, and I can get 24 inches at a time of the quilt ironed, and then I can put it on the frame perfectly flat. So much better to have a huge ironing board specifically for, this is specifically for out in the garage. It's only in here because I was, all the fabric that I got from the quilt show, in the yardage, I was pressing on the big, it was so much easier to press on the big board. But yeah, long armors, I 100% recommend a big, huge ironing board or ironing surface of some sort, because it has been a lifesaver. And I've got a lot of twisting going on. And I'm almost down to the red, but I have a lot of yellow. It's going to look really awesome. I hope it's going to look really awesome, I should say. Should.
You
It should.
need me to get in there and help with any of the twisting or do anything? You're
No,
good.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm almost done. Then I just got to plug the iron in. Actually, you can plug it in now for me.
That I can do.
Plug it into the single-sided hole.
Why is it
Huh?
not work or something?
No, they work. I just like it on that side.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it gets hot.
Okay.
Because it's an iron.
It's my mom's old extension cord that's older than me, so you never know. Maybe some of it doesn't work.
I have one, but it needs to be
Raised.
raised. Oh, the ironing board. Mine gets tall.
Linda says she has one. They're great to be able to iron your work.
Yes. I am all about pressing the whole project before loading it and or even before quilting anything.
Diane wants to know when I'm going to make a quilt.
You know,
when Tiff goes to the gym with me.
I have asked him several times to let's just do a block or something. And
I cut pieces for you. Be happy I did that.
Yeah, he cut pieces that one time. You guys saw that. That was just once, though. Other than that, the only thing he's ever done is plugged in the iron and moved the camera around and read comments.
Hey, I made the ironing board.
Oh, and he helped me make the ironing board because.
Come on, I help you do all your stuff. I help you make your whole foot room set up.
He helped move all the stuff in here and all my what he calls hoardings of fabric, but you guys know that's just the husband talking because they don't have such beautiful fabric hanging around their room.
Now that I hurt myself and I can't do much in the gym, she's always on me about getting
I'm
into
like,
this quilting and doing.
I'm like, just sit at the machine. I'm telling you, Scott, it's going to be awesome. And he's like, then go to the gym with me. Work out. All you have to do is cardio. This is my cardio. See, my hands are moving.
I don't want you to do cardio. I want you to weight train to build back your muscle since you're losing so much of it.
I used to bench a lot. He actually was
amazed
by it when we first got together because years and years ago because back then I could bench 150. I told you guys I have really strong upper arms. I have a broad shoulder set and really strong upper arms. I could probably still bench like 50, but that's pushing it right now because I'm sore and in pain all the time. But
Dan says they just don't get it. And Linda said Jeff doesn't help her.
Yeah, most husbands don't. I mean, there are some, if you guys go in the groups on Facebook and stuff, there are some husbands that do it. And then there are men quilters. And there are men quilters that have been in the military.
I'm not making fun of them.
There are quilters that are as flaming gay can be. And guess what? They are amazing quilters. And they're covered in tattoos. And
I love the quilting Marine.
But
I like that guy. He's awesome. I was the one that talked you into sending him stuff and making him the quilt.
It's like, I just can't get him to sit.
I'm not making fun of him. It's just not my forte.
How do you know you haven't done it? That's what I keep telling you. You haven't done it. How do you know?
I'm a gym guy and I hang out with the baby girls while you do that stuff too. So see, that helps you out also. My little youngins running around screaming and hollering.
Oh, my husband seam rip for me. Your husband will seam rip for you and helps you base. Yeah, Scott's helped me base. That's also something because we've had to on the garage floor when it was before I even had a long arm or anything. I laid out stuff on the garage floor and we would have to straighten it out and everybody would come outside and hold a corner for me when I was first learning how to free motion quilt. And yeah, everyone would come out, hold the corner of the quilt for me, hold it down, and then we'd pick up, we'd spray it real quick, put some batting down and hold those and then spray some more. Yeah, it was quite fun. Everybody would smooth it all out.
Poor man sewing, Rick helps her, but he doesn't sew. And Teresa says I'm great. Diane says maybe when hers retires, she can get him to quilt.
All right, so look how much extra this one is.
So
I didn't even have to cut that many, but I did just in case. So.
Betty says her boys know how to sew and they're married to women that don't. My mother actually taught me how to sew, Betty, and in the Marine Corps I had to learn how to sew. That's one thing you have to learn in boot camp. They don't really teach you. You have to learn it all on your own.
All right.
Because they make you learn how to sew your own uniform stuff. Anyway, when I was in, wasn't that terribly long ago, but.
All right, I'm trying to. All right, so this is how it goes, just like that. So I got to show everyone because I'm upside down. Oh no, I can come from this way. It's okay. All right, so I'm gonna turn the camera down so you guys can watch how this works.
Get out of the way here.
I'll come down right here to the pressing board, you guys will be able to see at least how this works. Okay, so I have what we call, again, the flange part facing up. Okay, I don't want that actually because I want this pressed to the dark because obviously,
Yes, Diane,
yeah, I do want it this way.
patches.
Yes, okay, so I'm going to fit out with the flange up. We're going to heat this seam up real quick. I'm going to press the iron out of the way. And I'm going to use my fingers just for the section that's on the table first. And I'm going to press this to the dark with just my fingers, holding it down. And I'm going to slowly lay the iron on it. I'm going to press it back to the flange, pretty much, because that's my dark color. And I don't want to have no pleats or folds in this because that'll really, really ruin it. So we're just going to take it to the end where I got it pressed to. Make sure it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to yank it this way. And I'm going to flip it back down. Again,
That's funny, Teresa.
Like so. So
when
that
she was young, her husband did the sewing. If the kids needed something sewed, she'd tell the kids to go to their dad.
How funny. So we're going to do it again where the flange is down. I'm just going to heat that seam up. I know this seems like it's a lot of extra steps for flange binding, but I'm telling you, it really, really, really makes a difference. So again, I'm going to just kind of use my fingers to push it back. Just a little bit.
Diane used to sew for guys at Fort Hood. I had friends stationed at Fort Hood. I knew guys in high school that joined the Army.
Okay, and then I'm going to come back again to the top, using my fingers to keep it separated. You can also press it open, but I don't see no point because you're going to have a seam like right next to it. So it just makes it thicker. It's best to just press it towards the flange or the dark color, but either way, because the way it's going to get folded, you'll see.
Faith wants to know how long you've been quilting.
For 4 years.
Oh, Billy Weatherhead, her husband is a retired sewing machine mechanic. That's what we need around here.
Yeah. I have one machine outside that we just can't figure out what the heck is wrong with it. All right, again, I'm going to pull it all up here.
And also, Faith, she is pretty much all self-taught.
Yeah, this is all self-taught until I learned that there was, at like the first year, I think it was probably almost a full year before I realized that there was even YouTube videos on quilting. I thought YouTube was just like what my kids watched, was gamers and stuff. And then I watched videos on like documentaries and stuff like that. And no, it turns out there was quilting videos. And I was like, holy blah, blah, blah words. I didn't know this, and wow.
And we both became fans of the Quilting Marine. He's a good guy. He supports us. We support him. He's a good guy.
Yes, I like Mark and Yvonne. You don't see them very often anymore, but...
Oh, they don't do...
They're always either sick or busy lately. They both work, so it's hard to get on.
He has so many followers, I didn't know.
Yep. So again, I'm just going to press this whole thing back as quick as I can because I got to speed myself up a little bit. I'm falling behind. I usually do this in about, I don't know, 2.5-ish hours total. When I'm all by myself, not having anybody
Faith is saying wow
or talking. I'm pretty quick about this.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I don't.
Oh no, it's the doing it live. That has nothing to do. It's because I'm paying attention to the screen and what I'm doing.
That's why I try and read the comments too, but then we
Then
both get into talking.
It's okay. I can talk and
ruin
work.
your mojo.
I just want to get to the good part.
They're here to watch
because I got to press this a second time. After we press this like this, we got to press it again.
They're here to watch you. I always feel
this
like I
has a
ruin
lot
your mojo.
extra ironing steps. That's for sure. But I'm telling you, when you see the end, it's going to be awesome, and this will look great, and blah, 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 blah. And try to keep it as nice and straight as possible the whole entire time. I'm not even pre-pressing now. I'm just kind of going to go through it real quick because I'm getting to the end. So I'm using the warmth of the ironing board to use my fingers and push it back as I go.
It says you're a gutsy lady.
You should have seen me when I rode motorcycle. Those years are behind me. Crashing motorcycles and getting hurt, and I'm just kidding. I didn't crash that often. Just sometimes.
Teresa's in a brain freeze on quilting her LSH quilts.
Oh, the Love Shouldn't Hurt quilts. Are you going to try to just quilt each block differently, Teresa? Is that a good idea? Try to make each block something different? Or do an edge to edge of something maybe, depending on how it looks. We can talk about it later if you want, or tomorrow.
She says, yep. Yeah, maybe you should.
You guys know that I do offer one-on-one help to those in need. And join the group. You guys get way more stuff on the group that is off camera. That's why I started the group, because I take a lot of pictures of my work, and the video wasn't always clear, you know. It isn't always clear, so.
Yes, we have. That's our internet issue. We will hopefully someday be able to remedy that by buying a better internet.
Someday. We don't have money right now. We're kind of poor. We're quilt poor because Tiffy has a big, huge machine outside.
We only have 2 internet companies in town, and we have the highest at the company we belong to. And to switch to the other company, it's double, or almost double the price. A little bit more than double, I believe.
And it's to the same speed. We need an even faster speed because I need an upload speed, not a download speed. That way I can do my 2-camera thing for you guys, so I can swap cameras for different angles. That's why I have so many that I bought for this purpose, and I can't even use them. All right, so now that this whole thing is pressed, I'm going to go ahead and cut this end off here because I do not need it. If I had a pair of scissors next to me. So I don't need this part. I'm just going to get rid of it. It's just a little bit. I'm going to throw it up on the table, get it out of the way, and we're going to press again. So I'm going to bring the whole thing back this way to this side. That's a lot, as you can tell, a lot of binding. Okay, this is how you're going to see this. So we're going to flip it upside down, like so. And just like any binding, when you fold it in half, all right, let's create this. I got to come over here and do it. So I got to hold it from this end. I'm going to hold that side down like any binding. It's just a little bit harder because of the way I pressed it. Should have just pressed it to the other side, but that's okay because I already did it. Okay, I gotta fix this. It's not working. Screw it. See what happens, because this material is 2 different thicknesses. Oh, that hurt.
Right, your hands, my love.
I burn them all the time. It's not my fault. All right, let's see if this fixes the problem. One is like a flannel, and one is like a just a regular 100% cotton. All right, guys, let's try this again. Yeah, that's gonna work a little bit better. So one's thick and one's not. All right, let me get some of this iron and you'll see what's happening here. All right, you see how there's a red stripe now? Okay, I'm gonna have to push this whole thing as I go.
Do you need me to help you do anything?
No, I'm just gonna push that up as I go.
Okay.
Fold it in half. Fold it in half. Like I said, you can, from the beginning, you can make it in different sizes if you want a thicker flange. Just up the numbers of both by 1/4 of an inch each number. So the back one for this size is 1. The main color is 1 1/4, which would be my yellow, And then my red, which is my flange, is 1.5. I'm not pressing it the other way. I'm pressing it up because, like I said, there's 2 different thicknesses of material here. And it's kind of making it a little bit challenging to press. Like super challenging. I guess when you do a flange, make sure you have both the same fabrics going. It'd probably be easier. So don't put flannel with cotton together, I guess. Or at least flannel as the backing. I'm going to have to go through this whole thing real quick. Oh, it just takes an extra minute to do this. Okay, back down to where I was. Fold and go, fold and go. So you guys see that flange, right? Developing. Just wait till it's on the quilt. That even makes it look way better. Okay, so true, Linda. Okay, let's see. Stand up. I have stand up long arm physically. Due to pain, you don't do sit down yet. The reason why I started standing up was because of that. The sit down makes me hurt more. Standing up is comfortable for me. And it took a while to realize that too. Like before I even knew long arms existed. I was a dum-dum when I first started. Like I didn't know crap. Things I know now, I'm surprised. I learned it all so fast. I picked up on it like I've been doing it all my life. It's weird. And I can even write patterns. Like if I would have been able to do this years ago, I would have had something to, you know, like build a life on with like designing and stuff. And now I'm older and I have to start this age and I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm trying, but it's taken a while. I've been contacting people. Trust me. Nobody ever writes me back though. They think I'm crazy or something. It's weird. Okay. So I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I got to press it back the other way because I'm pressing it towards the thicker fabric. For some reason, it's not going the other way. Folding it in half. So I guess you could just press it towards the main color instead of the flange color. Probably would work too. Right on the edge. Like I said, pressing it open won't help though. It'll just make the problem worse than what I'm already doing. I really have a lot to go, guys. I know I'm still young, Teresa. It's just like I haven't, I don't have the word for what I'm looking for. Like if I would have started earlier, I could have contacted, you know, more agencies and like fabric companies and stuff. Like, hey, will you let me take your designs into my quilt pattern and I'll make something out of your newest line of fabrics or something, you know? Now I'm having troubles finding anybody that wants to use me to design patterns for their newest quilt lines or their newest fabric lines. Because like I said, I've been trying to contact people, but if I would have started years ago, I would have already been there in that stage probably. So if I could build more of a following, I guess maybe more and more people will recognize me. And obviously entering the quilt show this year will help too. Even if I don't win anything, the entry itself will show that I'm serious about what I do. Oh yeah, I'm still going to enter all I can. What made me start quilting? Pain. I'm going to squeeze past to get some iron water. I have MS, as you guys know, and it's not that I couldn't find things to do, because I had plenty of things to do, like swimming and so on and so forth, but I had a sewing machine and I saw a picture online and I was like, well, I'll make this. Well, I'll try to do this, you know. So I really crappily, with a pair of scissors and a sewing machine and some really old thread, I just made a quilt, a really crappy quilt. Just cut up a sheet and made a crappy quilt. My son got it. He loves it. So either way. And I kind of taught myself. As soon as I sat at the machine, though, what it was it's like I felt nothing else but what I was doing. It was like a great feeling, a super great feeling, actually. Like, it wasn't just an average, hey, I feel good. I actually felt good about myself, my body. I didn't hear or feel any of the pain because I was ignoring it so much that I was like, hey, I don't need pain meds. So after about, I don't know, a year of quilting, I completely quit most of my pain meds. I still take pain meds on a, you know, like a as needed basis, which is not very often anymore. But I don't take them every day, let alone 3 and 5 times a day, which is absolutely amazing. So like the shirt says, it is my therapy. And in real life, it actually is real therapy. I use it as therapy. And then I have my pool therapy over the summer, because in the summer I can't do much quilting in the garage, which everybody knows that, because it's way too hot out there. All right. Almost done. And we can start putting it on the quilt, which is the part that goes fastest. That's quicker than making this. Can't believe I had a little issue. Oh, well. Next time I won't use 2 different kinds of fabrics. So I don't recommend it, guys. Yeah, nobody taught me how to sew. So you guys you guys had a little bit of advantage. And I graduated high school in 1996. So by then they had already stopped doing home ec. So there wasn't even that to learn how to sew. My mom sewed when I was a kid, but I don't remember nothing of it. I just know she made my clothes and doll costumes and Barbie doll clothes and all sorts of stuff. But I don't think I was ever interested in, I haven't actually asked her if I was ever interested in trying back then. But I had a sewing machine to sew holes in clothes for my kids. I kind of figured out how to do that. So that's the only thing I knew how to do, was to mend clothing. And that's the only reason why I had a sewing machine in the first place, was to mend clothing. But once I got into it, I dove in really far. As soon as I realized it was on the internet and I could learn other things, I was like totally, I don't know. By the time I started buying fabric and then found out there was long arms and so on and so forth, I was like dead set on it. Started with the mid arm at first, and I didn't like that. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I did amazing at first. I made tons and tons and tons and tons of quilts. I'm at the 200 and, I don't know, about 260 quilts already in 4 years. A lot of them are donations, so that's why there's so many. And most of all my family members now, at least my closest family members, mom, dad, brother, and Scott, and every single one of my kids, some even have 2, they all have quilts. So I got all those bases covered. But my nieces and nephew all have quilts from me. And yeah, I kind of went baby quilt crazy for a while in the beginning. I've made customer quilts, and so on and so forth, which I count those into the number 2 as well. All right, I'm going to turn the camera back up and we're going to look at this. Yes, the weather is better. I love the warmth here, guys. I am a warm girl. I love warmth. It's 81 today, which is great. All right. Tell me right there. Stay. That's good. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to bring this big, huge quilt over. Actually, I've been on 120, huh? Yeah, okay. I wanted to stay up here. All right, I'm going to unplug the iron and bring the quilt over and show you guys how this works. And due to the fact that it's such a big quilt, we have to put the ironing board next to me. I'm going to walk it over there real quick so that's next to the table. So give me 2 seconds. I'm out of screen for a second so I can move this. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to see what you're saying. Only thing about taking a class is if you have to work at their pace. You need to work at your own pace. Yeah, well, that's what's good about taking at-home classes. Online courses, like following me when I do things from beginning to end. So you can do it at your own pace. Even though I work fast, you can just go back to the videos. That's what I like about what I do. All right, so I got my extra board over here. Okay, so we're going to open this up and I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. Oh, because it's not heavy. I just slide it over. This ironing board literally is, see how it wobbles? There's no heaviness. Made with a, I don't even think it's 1/4 inch wood. I think it's 8 inch. It's very, very light. Now I can't pick the whole thing up as in standing it up on my own because it requires it being folded. But all right, so here's the top of the quilt. What we're creating here, for those of you who are very curious about this and have already asked now, this gets sewn on the back, right? So the back is this yellow color. So I'm going to pretend it's sewn on. Let me pull it up just a little. We're going to fold it over. And what's going to happen is when it comes around to this front side, oops, hold on. I need the other end. This is why you have to look twice, sew once. Okay, let's start this over again. So when it's sewn on, we're going to see the red. When I fold it around, it's going to put the red on the inside. So when it comes around to the front, you're going to see the red. So it'll be yellow, obviously, the yellow. But the red creates a flange. So make sure you're grabbing the wrong side once you make it. So what we're doing is, I'm just going to fold it over so you can see. We're creating this. So when it's folded over, and you still can have a mitered corner with your flange all the way. See, don't you guys like that? It looks super, super cool. So you got to make sure you have your orientation correct because you can get it messed around. So make sure you check that before you start sewing. So we're going to pull this back down to me. Just like any quilt, I'm going to start with it upside down, obviously. I'm going to start with it away from an edge. Like so. And I'm not worrying about running into any seams. I want my red. Oops, I did it again. You got to pay attention to this. I did it again. So I'm coming from the back. I want my red facing up. So I need to come down and around this way. Now that I flipped it over, it's going the wrong way again. Then you top stitch from the front. Yes, in the flange. So I find my end. I'm going to check it again. So you lay it, make sure you lay it down on the quilt. That way when you roll it over, okay, it's the correct direction. So the main or the flange color is what the color you will see is the color you will see on top. So I'm just going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam to sew my flange on. I'm going to make sure my machine is threaded and doesn't have a pile of dust sitting next to me. I'm going to move these pins for vibration purposes. I like my overcrowded pin cushion. I couldn't find one. I had a bigger one. I could have swore I had a bigger one, but I guess I don't. So I stuck with this little red thing. And it's old too. It's like hard and crusty. It was in a box. It was in a box. All right, so I'm going to lay this down flat on my lap. Like I said, with any flange or with any binding, we're sewing it on just the same. 1/4 inch seam. I want my flange color facing up. I'm going to sew about right here, leaving a pretty big thread tail, about 12 inches or more. I'm going to lay it on the edge and start sewing. And again, how did it get unthreaded again? Ah. It hates me right now. It's saying, Tiffany, slow down. You can't slow down. This is the part that goes the fastest. I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to change my stitch length because I like it to be a little bit bigger. Yes, this is the difference in the cutting widths. You would have thought that, like when I said at the beginning, you would have thought that that flange color would be the smaller color, but it's not. It's the bigger color of the shoe. So always remember, with a flange binding, the color that you want to be that little flange lip is always going to be the bigger cut, which is, what did I say? 1.5. The color that is the color that says your backing, because I'm using the same backing color, that is 1.25. And then again, if you want a thicker, like if you have a thicker quilt, this is kind of thick for this small, and I didn't realize that while I was going, but it's going to be a tight fit. But if you want a thicker binding, just up the number by 1/4. Up the number by 1/4. So both sides. So if you want your flange, again, is one color, so the flange would be 1 and, hold on, I got to think about this. 1 3/4 if you wanted it to be bigger, and then your backing color or main color would be 1.5 instead. So you can up the size. Just remember, they're 2 different sizes. The flange color is the bigger size, but for this size binding, which ends up, actually never measured how wide it really is. It gives you 2.25 inch binding, which is what I actually always use anyway. I always cut mine 2.25 inches. So, all right, I'm going to get going on this. I'm not going to see comments as fast while I do this quickly. Like, remember, I'm quick with the binding. Making the flange part is harder, but I got to put this all on the other side of me. Yes, or wider. If you want a wider flange, if you want that flange to stick out more, just cut the flange one 1/4 inch bigger. That will give you a 2.5 inch binding total if it's the same. If you're cutting the main color, which would be your backing color, if you're cutting that at 1.25 still, you would cut the other one at, let's see, hold on, I'm thinking 1. I gotta stop looking behind me at my little cheat sheet. If you want your flange to be bigger, but the main color to stay the same, you would cut your flange at 1 3/4. That would give you a 2.5 inch binding, and your flange would be like this big instead of this big. So it would have more of a lip, and it actually would look really good. So you can change it up to your liking, as long as you remember your flange color is always the bigger color. That's the only way to create it. So if you want 2.25 inch binding, like if you run with 2.25 inch, then cut your flange 1 1/2 and your main color 1 1/4. That's how you remember it. I had to write it down, so if I can do it next time, I'll change it up next time. All right, so here I go. I'm just going to start going around now. Now I should remember that that's 2 1/4, because now when I cut my diagonal seam, I can have a 2 1/4 inch seam. I'll know where I'm cutting it from. I'm trying to pull threads away as I go too, so they don't get caught in the machine. And lean back all at the same time. All right, guys, so I'm just going to go and not stop, at least attempt it. The new batting that I use is pretty darn thick. It's like 4 or 6 ounce thick. So it's pretty, it's a pretty lofty quilt, this one. It's got a lot of, it's nice that you can see the quilting really good. I didn't over quilt it, but I didn't barely quilt it. All right, so the mitered corner is going to be the exact same as any other mitered corner. Well, I'm glad you did too, Faith. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to stop a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Now you can take a pin if you want to. I'm used to where it is. And I'm going to back stitch when the needle hits a 1/4 inch away. I'm going to do what I always do. I got to turn and put it on my lap before I move. So I'm going to take this, like always, I'm going to lift it up away from me. And I went 1 stitch too far. Sometimes that happens. I always end up doing something stupid like that. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to create that 45-degree angle. I'm going to kind of smush it down. There's a lot of layers right here, right now. I'm going to come back down onto myself. I want that red still facing up. And then I'm going to create with my finger a little line on the fabric where that 40, see how it's sticking up like that now? You can see it. I made a little flap. I want that flap to stay down because I want my little crease where to put my needle down with my fingernail. I made it, and I just come down right at that, take a back stitch or a forward back stitch, lock it in place and keep coming down. Same with any binding. Right now we're working with it as if it was any other binding. I'm trying not to pull or tug or anything. Letting the machine do the work. It's an 80-20 cotton poly. I forgot the brand. I bought it off of like not overstock.com, but an overstock website. And it is so soft and lofty, and it is really easy to tell what side is the top and what side is the bottom. I don't know, I like it. I don't have the little paper in here, obviously. It's out in the garage in my long arm stuff, but it's Pellon, P-E-L-L-O-N brand. It is super nice, though. I think it was Deluxe Soft or something, or Deluxe something. I don't know, but it was really, really nice. But you could only buy it by the giant 30-yard roll, which goes on the machine. That was the only way I was able to get the deal I got. I have some of it in here. It's really, really soft. It's hard to tell on camera, though. You can see the loftiness. Okay, I gotta adjust myself. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, exactly. Here's a piece from outside. You see how thick that is? Look at my fingers. This stuff is like super duper duper thick. It is so soft. And when I took it out of the big huge wrapper that it goes in to put it on the frame, like this stuff is super duper nice. Very nice. And it quilts so, so lovely. And I just used the word lovely for it. So you guys know that it's good, some good batting if it's lovely to quilt. But yeah, I thought it was going to be thin on the internet. You know, the internet pictures don't look very thick at all. It looked like just skunked up, really thin bat, like I'm used to all the 80/20s I've ever bought, like the ones at Walmart in the bag. I usually buy I used to buy the natural color, the Warm and Natural brand. And yeah, it does not compare. This stuff is the loftiest stuff ever in the world. I like it so much better. My machine didn't have a problem either. Neither one of them, because I have used it to free motion quilt the wall hanging. So it quilted just fine. Obviously, you guys are going to see a big, yes, Diane. I didn't know that there was any loftier than what I had been buying because, you know, I can't shop everywhere, and online you can't tell. I thought all batting was the same, you know. I didn't know they had a difference until I was watching some lady on the internet on YouTube, and her batting, she was using a wool, but she said that it was blah 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 weight. And so I started looking up the weight numbers and so on, and that's when I found out that there was different weights in batting. Or else I would have never known. But I like it. Later, Diane, I'll try to send you a link for it, okay? I got it on sale. I don't know if it's on sale anymore, but maybe the link will still go to the sale. Hi, Linda. Well, it's good you're not here at the end, though, so it's okay. I still have a bit to go. Trying to get as many videos in as I can while there's no babies here. All right, so I'm coming up on another corner. Let me just get to it and I'll show you again. I'm going to come up to it almost a quarter of an inch away, trim it. I'm going to turn the whole thing and put it on my lap first. Same with any binding. So we're going to lift this up away from me. And again, I went one stitch too far. Sometimes I don't think, maybe it's the feed dogs that are pulling in the other side further. So the back side looks like it's one way. So when you pull it back like this, you're going to see the yellow come up to the top. But as soon as you press it back down, your red will come back to the top. And again, I'm going to create just a little crease right here. You don't have to use your nail if you don't have nails. You can just take like a tool like this, and just rub it against there. Make a little line and drop the needle in right like a hair past that line, because you don't want to go into the line, because then you're going to be going into the binding, and then it'll create a weird lip when you go to fold it back over. All right, so I'm just going to go sweep down this side. So you guys find that this is a pretty good tutorial today, doing flange binding? Good idea for me to finally show you guys how it's done, especially the way it's what's the word for it? The way it's coming along, even though I had little mess up. Oh, I dropped my water and I was trying to grab for it. I am not a speed demon. This machine is slow. Oh, how'd you guys get it? If it went like 120 miles an hour or more, then it would be me speeding. I always wanted to like take something and find out how you can find out how fast the machine is actually going, like in miles per hour, because that would be cool to know how fast I really sew. The fact that I'm sitting this far back makes it a little bit harder to adjust as I go. Well, I'm glad, Faith. I'm hoping that the full thing from start to finish helps you know that it's not that complicated. And the look that you achieve from it, well, you guys will see in a few minutes. As soon as I get this on and start going around the other way, then I can end the video and at least you know what it looks like, you know? I'll start the other side, but I'm going to have to get off anyway because I'm starting to get hungry. It's already, does that say it's 6:49 here? So it's almost 7 p.m. I didn't know that. It's hard to pay attention. Be nice if I just had my scissors up here instead. But yeah, I'll show you guys once I get it on how it looks. I'll do it around the corner so that you can see that you still get a mitered corner with this. You would calculate using top speed per minute. Yeah, I don't know how fast this machine actually goes. I don't know how to calculate it, but per minute, I don't know how fast. Somebody would have to time it. And I don't know how many stitches per. I'm at like 14 stitches per inch. I have it pretty spaced out, or 16. I don't remember. Coming to the end. I'm going to put the whole thing on my lap before I turn it. And I still have to show you how to combine the two also. So, you know, when I split it, obviously. It's going to be the same as any binding. So we're going to go up again. Just hold it. Come back down. Create my little thing so I know where to put my needle. Drop my needle down. Take a couple stitches, back stitch, and zoom down this side. I do kind of recommend, for recommendation purposes, that your flange be of a solid color. Reason for that is because any kind of design you try to throw into your, the fabric that you're using, even if it has polka dots, you're really not going to see them. You're not going to cast the effect you would with regular binding that's not flange. So I would kind of suggest, honestly, from my own personal preference and opinion, that the flange part itself be of a solid color, And that's just from experience. I've tried polka dots already, and it doesn't look, I don't know, it just didn't look right because you don't see some of the polka dots, you see like, they're scattered so far and few, it looks weird. So a solid is more a solid color that highlights the front of your quilt, I think would be the best option. And again, I'm just using my backing fabric and a color, the main focus color of the quilt, which is red. So I hope you guys are talking to each other because that's a lot for me to read. Okay, 1,500 stitches per inch. I think this one goes like or stitches per minute. I think this one goes like 2,000 stitches per minute. This one's really high. I'd have to get the manual to tell you guys, but it goes pretty quick. Okay, so I'm just a little bit more to go, and then I'll sew some to the front after I show you how to trim and cut. And I dropped a leg. I knew something was happening here. Something that never happens. One of my table legs fell. It's because this machine keeps moving around. None of them are towards me. They're just talking, right?
Yeah. That's why I came in. I heard you saying you're just having a hard time. So
well, I can't see. I just saw a big talk, and I was like, uh-oh, I can't read what it says.
Your machine gets 1,500, Diane said.
Okay. Did you look it up? So you guys look up the stuff while I'm doing this. Oh, and while I'm, for people that would like to know, most of the time while I'm stitching on my binding, this is always the time to do it. It's the best time to do it, is to check your back for wild threads that are still coming out. The best time to do it is when it's up on the table in your lap, so you don't have to put it on the floor and go, oh man, there's a thread there. I can't, you know what I mean? The best time for wild threads is when it's up on the table. Follow it around and grab them as you're sewing. That's the best time to do it. For anybody that was ever curious as to sometimes why I stop, because you've seen me bind quite a few times now. It's always best to grab them while I'm on the backside. Oh, okay.
Diane looked it up before when you guys were talking about it.
Yeah, I never got the book down. It's literally
memory.
in a box right up here on the shelf, too.
It's a good memory.
I knew it was a lot. And that's at the full speed, because it can also go super duper turtle slow. Which is literally like 1 stitch a second or less. So that's something I would normally do, that's for sure. All right, so normally I wouldn't do this. I kind of started way high up, but that's okay. I'm going to do my thing normally. And I'll just show you. I'll just take a couple stitches down so you can see. So I'm going to do the same thing. Flip this up. 1 extra stitch that I wanted right here. It's probably my back stitch that does that too. It either is the thingies that are taking it in, or it's my back stitch. I don't know. Back down onto itself. This is my last corner, and I'm only going to sew like literally 1.5 inches down. Maybe 2 inches. Right here. All right, so now we're going to get rid of all the excess. So I'm going to Woo! I'm going to bring this to the camera down so that you can see how I do this, because I know you can't see right there. So we're going to go right here. Well, I know my long arm goes really, really fast. My long arm is super duper, like I can make it go as fast as I want it to. All right, so normally I wouldn't have this much of an opening. This is a very small opening. Normally I would have at least, 12 to 16 inches, like right here. But unfortunately, I did not do that, and I don't really care because I'm just going to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to start with cutting this side.
You never know. Could be, huh?
Off about right here. And I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to come over 2 1/4 inches. So I'm going to line this up to where I can see the bottom at 2 1/4, just like that on here. I take my scissors, slide them in, and cut that off. Then I'm going to come back because I'm using regular scissors, and I'm going to literally trim off like 1/8.
It says your quilting is so pretty on the back.
Why, thank you. All right, same as any.
Diane wants to know how fast the professionals machines go, like the ones in sweatshops.
I have no idea on those. Those ones, you guys, you can't even ask me. So see, I have a really tight area right here, but I'm going to do it because I do it really easily. And I know you can still see the machine. But
do you want me to move the camera? I can move the camera.
If you can, carefully. Just don't touch that circle part, because that circle part is the...
Am I moving it up?
Yeah. So I'm going to...
That didn't... Okay. Oh, okay, I get it now. You have to use 2 hands.
Yep.
It's very touchy.
So the same with any binding. While he's doing that,
more.
I'm going to scrunch the quilt up right here. I'm going to put them right sides together, but at the diagonal.
Whoa.
You guys know that I don't have much space right here. I'm literally right there. That's as much room as I gave myself. So I'm going to line them up, and I can even hold it in my fingers, go, okay, those are going to line up just right, because see, there's 2 seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up right here, carefully on top themselves, like literally at that edge. And I'm going to sew corner to corner, if I can actually get that to stay. So if I can get it under here real quick, get that needle down, start a couple stitches, turn my stitch length down. I'm going to line my little end up. I'm going to feel for my chingamabobber. I'm going to carefully and slowly go over this. And that sucks because I had lost my needle. Sewing without no thread. Don't you guys hate when that happens? Happens so much. When you move a quilt around up here, I lose thread all the time. And I'm starting to hate the position I'm sitting in, but there's no other way to do it.
Can I help?
I got to hold the whole thing at the same time. So again, right sides together. I'm going to do this again. Lay it on here. Same with any binding, except I'm just making sure that I can feel over this edge right here. Stay up here. Where these 2 seams are going to align. I'm hoping that they will be exact, because I cut them exact. All right, so I'm going to hold that down for a second, put my needle into it, take a couple stitches. You guys can pin it. I highly recommend pinning, but I'm not much of a pinner, even when I sew such small sections like this. I have a bad habit of not pinning, except for my newest project, but that I'm frustrated with, so obviously I'm not working on it right now. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. I'm going to pull it open first, like so. And I'm going to make sure that my seam is one straight seam right here at my flange. Mine is like literally barely off. Barely, just barely. I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this away with some scissors because I'm in a hurry to show you guys what this looks like. I'm going to press this seam real quick to one side with my fingy carefully. Okay. Flatten it back out and sew down the rest of the seam. All right. Now I got a big, huge, heavy quilt hanging off the table because I had to move the ironing board. So when I get a chance, I'll have to move the ironing board back so I can hold the weight. So I'm kind of giving a little pull right here because I want my binding to stay flat so I don't end up with there's like always a little lip. That's okay, honestly, because it doesn't do anything. It's hidden inside, but I still kind of pull it a little. And I always sew past at least an inch or more. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to fold this around. Same with any, and I'm going to just do a big section right here and then show you what it looks like so that I can get off of here and go eat. So I'm going to turn the whole thing around. We're coming to the front side now. I'm going to put it all up on the table so that you can see the whole, have weight holding it up. And then I am going to take and fold it around. And I'm going to move my measuring thing, my seam guide out of the way because I do not need it for this part. Now I'm going to fold it over. Let's see if I can push this down so you can see. I'm going to fold it over like this. Making sure that everything's nice and flat inside there. And that any really, really big extra strings, because this, when I took it off the frame, it started getting really shreddy once I trimmed it. So I'm going to fold it over nicely. Bring it over here under the needle. And I am going to literally drop my needle right into the flange at the tip of the backing color. Like literally right at that edge. And that is going to be my guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a back stitch right here, lock it in. And I'm using I have my machine set at 3. So anyone who's using a Juki knows that that's 614 or something like that stitches per inch. I got to remember. I have a hard time remembering constantly. Nothing. We had burritos for lunch. So I got to pick up this whole entire thing because it's falling. Let's see. You still see the machine? I know I got this big bulge now on the table, but my thing has been moved away. So I'm just going to sew this edge and then we'll show you on the camera. So I'm going to follow inside not the outer edge that's facing inside, the quilt, not the outer edge of the flange, but the closest towards my backing, which was main color of the flange. And I'm sewing in the ditch of the flange, literally. I'm just going to follow that, keep it lined up. And just take it all the way around. I'm sewed pretty far down, and I'll come around this corner and I'll show you what mitered seams look exactly the same as normal. I'm going to pull all this shredding out of the way. Sometimes it gets annoying, but sometimes I don't really care. And that is why we bind quilts in the first place. And if I look on the back, I'm creating, I don't know how well you can even see that. Yeah, you probably can't. There's a line on the back side, which is what always happens when you sew from back to front. It's always going to happen, no matter what you do. And then there's some people that sew it onto the back and fold it to the front while it's still upside down. I don't like to take the chance of not seeing what I'm sewing. So I always flip the quilt over. Personal choice, I guess. So I'm just going to sew all the way up to this corner and then around it, and then I'll show you. I'm using my fingers to hold it down. Don't forget though, you can just take out your binding clips and use those. I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it my way and be done with it. And remember, your seam junctions will kind of be thicker because if they match up at all, they will be a little bit thicker, but that's okay too. I have this area that's kind of thick right here where I joined the two seams, so that's why I said that. All right, so I'm going to come down to this corner. I'm going to do the same thing I always do. I'm going to hold it down, come right close to it, and I don't know how well you can see. Let's push this out of the way. So I have it down. I have a 45-degree angle coming out towards my left. I'm going to press it down with my finger, and I'm going to bring up the bottom, lay it right on top, just like with any mitered corner, except I'm going to meet up my flange instead, and I'll bring it up to the camera as soon as I finish so you can see. I'm going to come up to it nice and slowly. I always take a back stitch once I hit it. I'll get my needle to fall right where I want it. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to come down just a little bit so I don't have to take the whole quilt off the table. I'm going to come and take a back stitch right here as well on this side. And then I'm going to start coming down this side. Get rid of some of this thickness of shredding. And I don't like it when it comes onto the flange, so I'm going to pick that out real quick. And it's a good thing there's 3 stitches per, I mean, my machine said at 3, there's like 16 stitches, 14 or 16 per inch, so they're pretty spaced apart. Easy to pick. I'm at that point where I'm like unfocusing because I'm getting hungry. I'm a hungry hippo right now. I just want to eat. I'm going to back stitch right here real quick. And carefully come down just a little. Pay attention to my line. I need to come far enough to be able to show you a good size corner. Watching my needle fall into the hole like it's supposed to, into that crease. And I'll show you as soon as I get that far. I have little pieces of thread coming out of my seam. I don't like that. So I'm trying to get rid of it. And this is as far as I can get. So I'm going to stop right now. All right. And I'm going to bring it over and show you guys how this flange binding works. Okay. And I dropped my mouse. I hope I didn't mess anything up. So there we have it. So see, my mitered corner still matches up, except instead of lining up just the end here at the crease, you're also lining up your other crease, like right there. So a flange is this little lip. You can literally pick it up and move it. It's now a lip. And like I said, you guys can make your lips as big as you want them, because as long as you remember to sew a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch away from the edge, and like I said, on the back side, you will have a line all the way around. It's inevitable. Like, I don't care what anyone says, that line all the way around the back of the quilt is inevitable. It always happens. Unless you're like a true master sewer and can land in this crease right here, which is impossible because I have tried a bazillion times. it is highly impossible. So this is the flange binding, everyone. So I'm 100% hoping that you guys will have fun with and play around with your sizes, even now that you know your flange needs to be cut bigger and your main color needs to be cut smaller. So, and if you want 2 1/4 inch, just cut your main fabric. Again, is, what did I say it was again? 1 1/4, and your flange is 1 1/2. That gives you a 2 1/4 inch flange binding. So from afar, this is what it looks like. You can see that red pop. That's why I decided to do that, because I wanted it to run along with the red quilting. So obviously I have a lot more to do. So I love the way it looks. Obviously, those of you on in the group will see still shots of this when I'm finished. I'm not going to finish right now. I'm going to go eat later. But this is a flange binding. I'll show up close one more time. One more time. And there's your mitered corner. So you just line them up the same as any other, except instead you're lining up 2 separate lines. Just look for that when you're folding it down and sew up to it. Back stitch like 2 stitches. Turn your thing, back stitch 2 stitches, and then start going the other way. And just stay at the top of it, not at the bottom of the flange. Stay at the top, right at the crease with your sewing. Just keep your needle. It's pretty much a needle guide the whole way. All right, guys. So I appreciate everyone for joining me. Again, Anna, awesome job on the gift. Thank you. Thank you. So now you guys, I have a sewing shirt. I'll take it off and just throw it back on every time I'm in here sewing, so that, yeah, that way I'm not struggling with shirt problems until summertime hits, obviously. So I hope you guys enjoyed the flange binding today. I knew that it needed to be taken care of for all you guys to see, and walking through the whole process to me made it so much easier. Like, nobody walked me through the whole process until I learned it and screwed it up. And this, after a while, you'll like exactly what I just did, putting it on back. You have to turn it to make sure you have it right, fold it over exactly what I shown you guys, because obviously you can get yourself turned around. But once it's together, once you get it that right way, sew it on, fold it back over, and you'll know that you got it right when your flange is sticking out. So thank you guys for watching. Have a rest of your great Monday, and hang out and relax. And don't forget to subscribe. I think it's down here, or it could be on that side. I don't know what side it's on anymore. It's all screwed up. And like my videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I can't log out though until I can find my mouse. Bye-bye, guys. Okay. There we go. Bye.